a lot of the rumour mill at the moment is Pulev, Jarrell. These are, should we say, next level names in terms of what you've been fighting at before. How confident are you that you can obviously continue with your knockout form? And then what is the end goal for yourself?
I'm 100% confident I can knock out anyone in this division. I think if you need any evidence, my last fight is proof of that. Mm-hmm. And then if you need more evidence, my fight before is proof of the grit, the determination, the heart you need, the will you need to get through this upper echelon, these higher level fighters, like you're saying, the Pulevs, the Millers, and whoever else are in them top tens, them big heavyweights, them big heavyweight names. I'm no longer British level. I'm very much European international. I'm one of them. Oh, well, if you pick a governing body, my name is in the top 10 there somewhere. Mm-hmm. So there's no more dodging these massive fights, these massive names for me anymore. And I welcome them because every time I've stepped up, every time there's been a bigger challenge, every time the lights have got brighter, I've got better. So I'm looking forward to a bigger fight, a bigger challenge, and a bigger show.
How far away is he from these massive fights, and how far can he go?
Well, first of all, we've got to make his dream come true. Mm-hmm. We will do that. I'm very confident we'll deliver.
Who do you think, Frank? You know, Portman Road, who's going to be fighting him?
He's got to fight somebody in the top 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it'll be.
All the rumours, as Troy says, all the rumours are about Pulev.
There are quite a few names there, and the problem we have when we start saying it's a certain guy and we haven't signed a contract, invariably the money goes up or it's a problem, it doesn't happen. So until the ink strikes, not worth saying.
You don't got to worry about money anymore, have you, Frank?
He's working on percentages.
Yeah, it's not him. I'm worried about the money. I'm going, no, not him. He costs too much.
No, we know what we've got to do. We know we've got to, to put a show on in a football stadium. You've got to put on a proper fight.
Absolutely.
And, Fabio's done everything that's been asked of him. He is in the top 10 of every governing body, and he deserves to be there on merit and on performances. And when what astounds me is when you look, he had no amateur experience as such, and what he's done as a pro is just amazing. So, top 10 name, big fight, he comes through that. He's on the verge of fighting for a world title, and that's what the name of the game is. He came with us on the understanding that we would deliver for him, and it's my job to make sure that we do deliver, and we will.
Just one quick one on that. If you keep knocking people out the way you are, and obviously you've shown that in the first fight you can go, because I told you this before, when your nose went in that first fight with Fraser, it's one of the few times I've been sick in my mouth, and that was absolutely it, because you looked me square in the eye. I was like, oh, that's a bit dodgy. You will get to that point where people will avoid you for everything that you've just said there, Frank. So how difficult does it become to matchmake somebody of this calibre?
I think at the end of the day, this professional boxing and their professional fighters, it's about money. And it's making sure the book's balanced and making sure we deliver. And we've always done that. We're very, very strong in the heavyweight division, Queensbury. We've got probably most of the guys outside of Usyk on the books. So it's not going to be that difficult to make the fights that matter. And, even with Usyk, every one of his mandatory challenges are fighters that are with Queensbury. Okay. So it's, we're in a good shape there. And being with the Zone now, that's the home of heavyweight boxing. You're going to get all the best heavyweight fights on there. And as far as Fabio's concerned, he is one of those, and he's spearheading it. And he's a fighter on a mission, and he's on fire at the moment. I mean, that knockout last time was one of the most
First one, obviously, I think I like to be able to show rather than speak.
Yes.
So for my next fight, someone in the top 10, someone of some worth, names that you mentioned, Pulev, Miller, Anderson, whoever else. Like there's a long list of names you can pick from, but someone of those top 10 that you can pick, and I can, because the question mark for me right now is, okay, look, you had two good fights at Fraser Clark, good knockout, good fight, whatever, but you weren't making a big jump. So I'm like, okay, cool, hands up, fair enough, no worries. Give me someone top 10 and I'll prove myself there. And then we move on, and that's when I start looking for those putting myself either in position for mandatories or start looking for those world title people like your Dubois and Usyk and whoever else is vying for those belts. That's when I start aiming for those type of people as well. But a little stopgap in the middle for me to go, right, fair enough. If you guys think that's too big of a jump, all right, let me show you. Let me show you how big I can jump. I'll make that jump for you. Then I'll spearhead. Then I'll hunt down these world champions.
Brilliant.
And those are the words, in short, of Fabio Wardley and Frank Warren. Okay. And they're looking, obviously, they don't have an opponent. Okay. Not him. He costs too much. This is from Talk Sports Boxing. That was actually him just making fun of some possible fights that may be too expensive for what they want. Okay. That's all that is. You know, that's not Jarrell Miller asking for too much money or Pulev asking for too much money, you know, and in fact, those guys are a couple steps above Fabio Wardley. Okay, Fabio made his name off of Frazier Clark. Frazier Clark is, I think, coming off of the wired jaw that he had to be wired because of the punch that he took from Fabio Wardley. All right. And it was a brutal punch. You've seen it separate as he made that, you know, shot. When he made that shot, it was, yeah, you could tell, you know, this fight's over. However, they're still looking for a fight. And if I was going to go that route based on the temperament of Fabio Wardley, I would go with Jared Anderson. The reason for that is I think Fabio Wardley needs someone sharp, not safe. Because what would probably cost him too much money, I know he was kidding, but what would probably cost him a bit more would be the WBA regular champion Kubrat Pulev. Because if you can remember, he beat Mahmoud Char for that belt. Mahmoud Char was the WBA regular, you know, the lion walker, right? So he beat him, all right? A 45-year-old Kubrat Pulev beat him. And fighting him would probably be safe, but it would be more expensive. So if they're willing to go that route, which I think Frank would go that route, me personally. But if in terms of endurance or in terms of style, I would go with Jared Anderson, especially, you know, based on how Jared looked his last fight. Get him. I would want to pounce on that particular fight before going in there with Pulev. But, you know, then again, if there was any way they were going to put him in position for mandatory, it would be Pulev. Okay, so, you know, I think Eddie would probably go that route first, you know, unless he has someone closer or farther up the totem pole to take that particular chance against Kubrat Pulev. Because Kubrat Pulev is at the point where he has the belt. If you want the belt, you want to challenge him for the belt. Him, Michael Hunter, Fabio Wardley, those are the guys that are close enough to challenge Kubrat Pulev for the belt. Well, fine. But Kubrat Pulev is going to want some money for that. Okay, him being a champion. Any champion demands more money. That's the whole point of being a champion. You're defending a belt, but you also are a champion, so you also want more money. You're not a challenger. You're not a mandatory in some cases. You're a champion. And I mean in some cases because the WBA regular, as we know about Daniel Dubois, you know, can be a mandatory and a champion at the same time. So that being said, I believe that Frank Warren will probably press the issue for Fabio to get that fight with Kubrat Pulev. But I would prefer Jared Anderson. Because it's not a lot of money, and I think it's one of those sink or swim fights. And whoever wins goes to the next level, where the other one has to sit there and ponder and figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their career. But you guys tell me what you think of this Talk Sports interview with Frank Warren and Fabio Wardley, looking for an opponent for the top 10. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.